All right, one last question before I let you go.
Yeah.
Chip versus Axel, even matchup? Hey, what up? It's Pat the Flip. Thanks for checking out the video. If you want, give me some money on Patreon or Twitch so I can keep on making cool shit. Peace. Coming through that 1080p crystal clear clarity, we got none other than the popcorn baron himself, Gekioh, aka Keith Perry. What up, homie?
Hey, what's up, Pat?
So I gotta start by commenting on this couch, which looks soft and well worn. You like are the tears behind you just like love of use, right? Like this is constant like Axel salt here just grinding up against there, or was it like a dog or something fucked it up?
So check this out. You've probably been watching me back before we were streaming before the pandemic hit, and a lot of the FGC have came through this house on this couch for salty fights. So it's had a lot of share of love, fight, the Kizzer versus Sweet Jam show, anything you can think of. So
honestly, I'm surprised that couch would survive a Kizzer versus Sweet Jam. That's amazing.
No, what it doesn't survive is Kizzer versus the Arm.
God damn. I appreciate how like so for Cali Burst, we've been doing the thing where we set up like show matches between people, and we try and build up the hype. It's been super fun. We get these like narratives going between that and then running locals. And you've been on that kick for a while. I really respect how you've been able to assemble that scene basically like in this is your living room, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I actually have a story to tell you about that.
Oh, let's go.
Because this actually started as a brainchild in an airport. It was after NEC 2017, I believe. And me and Kizzer, we were at the airport. And at that time, we were still relatively new in the scene. Nobody really knew us that well. But we had been out to the Chicago scene, and we had seen people mash in what was called back then the squatter house. And the squatter house is like any squatter house in the FGC. You got 25 people in a 2-bedroom apartment mashing and doing tech. So I was like, this is in Chicago, so space isn't exactly affordable. What if I could get the old heads and the new blood together under a slightly bigger roof? And I've always had a natural ability to talk to people. Just like you, I love talking to people. I love bringing people together, and I love talking about passions and things that get people going.
Hell yeah.
So my thing was, all right, this is what I've learned from the past. You give somebody a gift, you talk to them a bit, you ask them about their impressions on things, and you disarm them. They become your friend, and they want to tell you about themselves. At this time, I didn't know Bozak that well.
Okay.
But I was like, hey, this guy has a lot of pull in our community here. I need to get to know him so we can get people to match in a bigger area. So that day, we were having drinks. The airplane was late, and we just got started talking about my idea for Renson and just having everybody over to prepare for a tournament.
Okay.
And that's how it all began.
Damn.
Needless to say, I was surprised how many people showed up. And from then on, it became like clockwork. Before a major, 25, 30 people in this apartment.
Damn. That is awesome. And it that rings like super true with what I've experienced of the Midwest FGC, especially the Guilty Gear scene. Cause I honestly, like, to me, Midwest was like, as someone who grew up West Coast, right, and was like thoroughly in the scene here, right? To me, the world was Northern California, Southern California, New York, because that's where Justin was from. And then
Yeah.
I knew vaguely that like Flo and Seth and a couple other people were from the Midwest, but I had no idea what was in there until Frosty Faustings. I want to say like 2014, right? I come out to there. It's my first time in the Midwest for a tournament. Actually, it wasn't even. It wasn't Frosty Faustings. It was the last UFGT that Keats ran. Where and his dad was still running the like carnival games in the back and shit. But that was the first time that I was acquainted with like just the hospitality and the good vibes coming from Midwest, and especially Midwest Guilty Gear. Where like I was used to like, especially coming from like the West Coast arcade culture, like people in the West Coast can be nice, but they usually don't start out that nice, at least in arcades, right? Because everyone's money matching over 25, 50 cents, right? Like there was a certain level of like base hostility. You had to earn the affection, right? Like you had to show that you could either take a couple games or hold your L's before anyone would talk to you. And then rolling up and seeing what the Midwest was like, I was amazed because I was like, one, these people are some of the nicest fighting game players I've ever met. And two, these people are running their mouths constantly. Oh my God. I had no idea. I think it was particularly the Tekken players would just keep on talking and talking and talking. I was amazed. So that's fucking awesome. And
I mean, that's just Midwest hospitality. If you're going to come into our house, we're going to show you hospitality. We're going to talk to you and we're going to match with you because most of our scenes realize our games are hard.
Yeah.
And if we don't invite people in and make them feel welcome, they're going to drop the game.
Mm-hmm.
I became kind of like a boot camp scalper. Like I would go to the events and there's some people in chat that can probably attest to this. I'll be like, you play Guilty Gear? And I would literally be like, come over my house on Wednesday.
Oh, shit.
And my thing was, one of the things that I noticed about newer players is they're gun shy.
Mm-hmm.
They don't feel like they have a place in the community.
Yep.
They don't really feel like they deserve to play with a lot of the best.
Yep.
And I wanted to wipe that out, at least for Guilty Gear in our community, because we have a bunch of old heads. We all know that this game is hard.
Yep.
It's a hard learning curve, and that's what makes it beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
How hard the game is. And for that reason, we just had people sitting onto the couch, and I literally like just have exhibition sets. All right, you're going one-on-one with the arm today. So, and everybody just goes through the grinder, through the mixer. And that's how you get better.
Yep.
But also, because of name recognition, you're on stream.
Mm-hmm.
So now people out there are getting to know you.
I see you, Terrell. That's right. Getting Kizzard is the initiation. It's how you get jumped into Midwest Guilty Gear.
Hey, what's good? Get stabbed with hope. That's what's gonna happen. And that's how we built it up. And from that, it became even bigger when Garage Gear became a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Once that became a kin, we were literally just bringing anybody from, all right, you're within 4 hours driving distance. Come here, match Guilty Gear. That's just the way our scene is. Our entire goal was to become the Borg of Guilty Gear. Everybody's just going to end up here sooner or later.
Nice.
Like, I remember one time, I think it was for EVO 2018 or 2019, we had Bugdur SNK come out from Saudi Arabia. I guess we were on the way to EVO, and he graced our presence. Never met the guy before, didn't care. Man, makes a mean venom. It doesn't matter to me. And I like to keep my place like a halfway house.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want you having to leave and go back home after like this long drive. Like, stay for a weekend.
Yep.
Let me take you out to the game stores and stuff like that. I want to make everyone feel like this is their home.
Hell yeah.
And that's what kind of went into my thing with popcorn. So we can just lead right on into
Hell
that.
yeah. Thank you for setting up the segue. I was going to say, so I want to say my first encounter with your popcorn was probably Frosty Faustings. I want to say it was 2018. It was either 2018 or 2019. But I wasn't, like, I had heard about it. I wasn't sure what to expect. And then as soon as, let's see. I think it was shortly after you opened up the stall. I heard there was a line, and already I was like, oh shit, okay, so this is something you got to line up for, all right. And you know, the attention, the interest is starting to spike. But the thing that I noticed the most was your popcorn was a social tool. Like, whenever you go to an event and your popcorn is there, you see everyone running around, be like, oh shit, what'd you get? What'd you get? What kind of flavors you got? Yo, let me try some, right? And if you, I saw, like, you know, homies who probably hadn't seen each other in a minute be like, oh shit, what's up? Oh, yo, let me get some of the New York cheesecake, right? And then if they're sitting next to each other and they're talking, and then a third person sitting next to them because they're watching whatever set, you know, is going on, and they're holding a bag of popcorn, they might be like, oh, hey, let me give you some of the strawberry and let me get some of that cheesecake, right? Mm-hmm. And it was amazing, right? Like, it absolutely was carrying on the vibes that you were talking about through
it was
popcorn.
Done that way by design.
Interesting. Tell me more.
The reason why I came up with the idea of having open samples mm-hmm. is to create dialogue, mm-hmm. to create conversation. Like, if you can bring communities that play different games together under a common likeness, you create a bigger, tighter community. And a lot of people don't know this about me unless you're in the scene with me, but I'm all about finding different ways to get people together. Mm-hmm. And for me, the reason my popcorn was even created was because of my father's original recipe.
Okay, yeah.
Which I won't go into too much detail, but it's the base of all of my salty popcorn flavors.
Okay.
And the whole purpose it was created was because my father lived in what was called the Brickyard, which was in East Chicago. It was a kind of rundown area, but everybody knew each other. Mm-hmm. Everybody would be playing under the trees all the time, and everybody would know each other. It was kind of like my father had like 8 siblings.
Yep.
So it was all about that community feeling. And when you have that community feeling and it can unite around a singular thing, it's like, yeah, we have our differences, but this brings us together and we're all having a good time.
Hell yeah. So I want to know if this started from your father's original recipe, like he passes it down to you, like, was this just a thing that he taught you how to do among many? Like, did he run a popcorn business, or was he just kind of doing this thing?
He always had the dream to run a popcorn business, but he never pushed it forward. Mm-hmm. The reason I pushed it forward was because of this community.
Oh, wow.
Particularly the one who's known as Chris Chaos. Hi, Chris. Who was around here during one of the events that I had. He tasted it, and he gave the look. You should really sell this. And I think it was white cheddar,
okay,
or something like that. But when if I'm the boot camp recruiter, he's the drill sergeant.
Got it.
So if he tells you you should probably do this, you do it. And from then on, I came up with a bit of a pattern of how I did it. Mm-hmm. One of the things I inherited from my father is a very sensitive tongue palate. So if I can deconstruct a flavor in my mouth, I can recreate it.
Damn.
And fine tune it.
Yeah, he's got the Sharingan, but on his tongue.
Yeah.
I started experimenting with it, and I realized salty took a certain ratio, sweet took a certain ratio, And from that point on, I was able to reverse engineer anything I could turn into a powder
Mm-hmm.
or powder and turn it into a flavor. So once I started doing that, it's like, all right, I have my original recipe. I have this powder here. Let's move it around and turn it into a flavor. So it turned into one after another after another. So obviously that gave me the ability to travel more.
Mm-hmm.
So when I traveled, I would look for more things that were in powder form. And I'd be like, can I make a flavor out of that? Perfect example, all dressed in maple bacon
Mm-hmm.
was the product of a trip to Canada, Toronto to be specific. I went to a bulk barn, and bulk barn, for anybody that's Canadian in the audience, they already know it's a place where you can buy things in bulk. And they had all these different powders here, and me, let's see what we can do with this. So that's how all dress got created. That's how butter chicken got created, which anybody in the Discord knows I had to redo from scratch because my provider stopped selling it, which was
Oh.
Bulk Barn. So I had to reverse engineer it with the little bit that I had, and I haven't gotten much feedback on it,
Mm-hmm.
but we'll see how the people like it. Let's just say it's a little bit bolder and zestier
Hold
and
up. I'll
closer
be
to
right back. Give me 1 second.
Sure, no problem.
Love this. I'm sorry, I ate most of it.
Yeah, she.
I miss you guys too.
Let's see. You ain't joking about the bold and zesty. Holy shit. This one is interesting to me because it's a lot, the flavor is actually a lot stronger than actual butter chicken, right? You went in super hard on the savory. I'm guessing because of what you're talking about, like the base of your salty flavors.
Yes.
And I feel like this is a guess. I guess I want to ask you a question. How many iterations does it take before you got to this recipe?
Originally, when I made the butter chicken to begin with, it was already preset.
Okay.
They already did everything perfect.
Yeah.
I didn't have to do much of any tweaking. Now, for this rendition, I had to break it down. I went with a whole bunch of pre-made flavors, and then I was like, all right, this is just spice.
Yeah.
Something's missing.
Yeah.
So I reached out to the company, and they told me, and they gave me the ingredients.
Yeah.
Because they weren't selling it anymore.
Right.
And then it was like shortening and cream. And I was like, all right, so I need to make something that emulates fat.
Mm-hmm.
So I started adding in different ingredients of that. And then once I added that to the base flavor, and I was like, I got closer and closer. But I was like, why should I just try and settle for what it was?
Yeah.
I can make this better.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of the theme with all of my flavors. Anybody that gives me any kind of feedback, if whether it's live on a booth or in my Discord, I literally will take that seriously. And I will, every time I do it, I'll tweak it a little bit and see what people think of it.
So, what to you is better about your version versus the off the shelf version that you were buying?
The thing about it is, because I have such a sensitive to palate, I go in harder on flavors than most do.
Yeah.
Because if I don't, I can't register it.
That makes a lot of sense to me because I was tasting this and I was trying to think why, like, I guess I should preface this by saying you make some dank ass popcorn. I fucking love it. My favorite flavor is the garlic habanero. I had a couple bites of that and I was like, I think this owns my soul now. And one of the things that I appreciate about that specifically on butter chicken is I'm willing to bet that if I had tried the scaled back version, the one that you're describing, like the first version that you ran, it would have tasted okay, but probably like the difference between butter chicken and any other kind of like curry or just kind of generic Indian flavor probably wouldn't have come through as much. Right? This feels like a flavor where you have to go hard to let people know, yo, this is what you're actually tasting. That's fucking awesome, man.
And I mean, The whole tag is homemade for those who love flavors. I know for a fact that my flavors are stronger than what most people are used to.
Mm-hmm.
It's that way by design
Yeah.
because I'm from the FGC. You go in hard or you don't go at all.
Yep. My man out here
Like-
making the actual Guilty Gear of popcorn. I fucking love it. So, I'm curious. You have a lot of flavors developed, and I know that for the product you're making, and I guess I should add a little bit of my background here. So, in addition to being in fighting games for a long time, I was actually briefly married to a woman who ran her own candy company. And so I got to see a little bit of what it's like to run a food business at the approximate scale that you're operating at, you know. And one of the things I helped her out with product development. Now, because she was working in candy bars, like that shit, like iteration there is super expensive, right? It's hard to work with chocolate, it's hard to work with caramel and a bunch of other things. There's a lot about like shelf life that she had to worry about. And I'm wondering, like, when I look at your product, it feels like you are very like adding a new flavor doesn't really cost you that much, right? Like compared to other businesses that you have the R&D cost, you have the cost of ingredients, but like the cost for you of adding another product to the line is like, well, you have to print out a couple more labels, right? Mm-hmm. And other than that, it's mostly R&D. So did you start out with a wide variety of flavors already? Like, did you already have things on deck, or have you just been kind of steadily adding new things over the last, like, several years?
It's been steady. Mm-hmm. It started out maybe like 7 or 8 flavors. The very first flavor, obviously, I made other than original recipe was cheddar. Mm-hmm. And the very second flavor, because I'm a spicy fan and because Kizer's my training partner, is Flamin' Hot Cheddar. To this day, Flamin' Hot Cheddar is the hottest flavor that I have. It's not even the fact of the pepper that's being used. Mm-hmm. It's how much of it's being used.
Got it. And do you use the same pepper for spice like across all your recipes, or do you have different sources of heat for different spicy recipes?
Many, many different sources of heat. Mm-hmm. I have everything from jalapeno, habanero, ghost pepper, Trinidad scorpion, chipotle, cayenne. If I can pull out the heat from any different source to give you the sensation that I want you to have, I'm going to do it.
And so for spiciness specifically, like when do you want like a kind of faster, like a briefer, sharper heat versus something that lasts a little bit longer? Like how does that affect the flavor, and which kinds of recipes would call for like different kinds of heat?
Sweeter recipes, because of how they affect the tongue and the fact that you have to use twice as much sugar as you do to register on the tongue as salt, you want to kind of go easy and smoky on heat for sweet flavors.
Got it.
Perfect example of that, Nashville Hot. Mm-hmm. I had the pleasure of going to or driving through Memphis. And obviously it's a rite of passage. I have to taste Hattie B's, have to taste Prince's. And immediately I was like, I got to make this. Mm-hmm. I got to figure out how to do it. And there was plenty of different pre-mades already made, which pre-mades are easy for me to be a template on.
Yeah.
But I almost always add my own to it.
Okay.
And in order to make a spicy flavor a sweet heat, you practically have to add twice the amount of sugar just so it balances itself out.
Got it.
Or you use a darker sugar, like dark brown, to get that more molasses to kind of absorb that initial harshness.
Okay. And so for when you're working on sweeter flavors, like, I guess, I don't know if this is a question that makes sense, but like what is the range of sweetness that you'd offer between a different flavor, right? Like, is it like when you think of your sweeter popcorns, like what is the sweetness difference between like a kind of sweet versus like, I don't know, what's the sweetest flavor you got on deck?
As far as sweetest flavor is concerned, You could probably take any of the glazes,
Mm-hmm.
but the thing about sweet is, if I'm trying to emulate something, I'm not trying to make it sweet.
Yeah.
I'm trying to make it emulate what you're actually eating.
Mm-hmm.
For example, New York cheesecake.
Another
Many
one of my
people in the
favorites. Let's go.
audience, many people can attest that it tastes like cheesecake.
Yep.
And that's because when I made that, I didn't concentrate as much on the taste
Mm-hmm.
as I did as the consistency.
Okay.
I wanted you to bite into it and feel full.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the emulsification process came in. And this is a trade secret that I will give out because it's not actually a trade secret. It's just not the way that people do it anymore.
Yeah.
All of my flavors go through a two-step process.
Mm-hmm.
The first step is the emulsification, which is basically spices and oil. You take the spices, you mix them with oil, you create an emulsion liquid that absorbs into the popcorn. That's your first coat, which is your aftertaste. The second is the raw coat, because now the popcorn's already wet, but it's wet with oil as if it was butter.
Right.
Now I can put the raw ingredient straight on top of it. So now you have a texture that you bite into, but it's a texture that sticks to the popcorn. So now when you bite into it, you get the flavor and the oil sticks the aftertaste, which keeps you wanting more.
So
That's the science. That's the tech.
that's dope. So when it comes to the texture of the popcorn, then like what kinds of different ingredients would you use to affect the texture in different directions? Right?
Well, if I want something a lot thicker,
Mm-hmm.
I'll use a thicker oil. If I want something a lot thinner, I use a thicker oil. Or I'll use twice the amount of lesser hitting ingredients to create a texture when you bite into it.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect example are my glazes. Anybody that's had the glazes, when you bite into it, you feel like you're biting into the fruit.
Yeah, I noticed that with the strawberry. There's like this like it caught me off guard actually how like there's almost like a cool effect to it.
All right, so that it was actually an accident in the lab
Hey.
that I said run with. But since all of the glazes are a kettle corn base,
Mm-hmm.
that's your crunch. The oil emulsification is the juice.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a crunchy, juicy consistency.
It is amazing to me that you can get that out of like not even fresh popcorn, right? Like this is like a shelf stable like I don't know actually this is a good question. How far in advance do you have to make your supply for like an event?
About month, 2 months ahead of time. And that was when I was doing it the old-fashioned way,
Mm-hmm.
which was with a pot with a crank on it and 2 trays that I did this.
But you scaled up your production operation recently, right?
I didn't scale up. The community scaled up for me.
Hey.
If it wasn't for the community, I wouldn't have been able to do this scale up. I did a fundraiser back in November thinking to myself, maybe people will give like $1, $5, make this happen. But I know I need financial help to move this to the next level because there's no way I'm going to be able to keep up with demand
Yeah.
doing this the way that I'm doing it now. And that was with a small popcorn machine.
Yeah.
And I was blown away, completely blown away by the support of this community. They all came in droves. It was funded in a week. I couldn't have asked for anything better. So if you guys believe in me that much, I'm going to give you a product to believe in. I have to.
Goddamn. So for the new setup then, like what is the difference in terms of production efficiency, right? Like if you're looking at a month or two of prep for an event, like what do you get to do now with the new shit?
We're talking 600%.
Woo!
I went from 8 ounce to 48 ounce.
Okay.
Holy shit.
48 ounces is 10 gallons of popcorns every 3 minutes.
God damn. Okay. And you're just running the shit out of your kitchen, right?
Yes.
So this is actually an interesting thing for me. You mentioned earlier on that it was Chris Chaos saying, "Yo, you should sell this shit," right? And I know I'm willing to bet that's not the first time you've gotten that, right? Like,
No.
yeah, anyone who is good at making a thing, especially something like this, they know. And it's not even just for food, right? Like anyone who's good at doing something, invariably you're going to get people telling you, "Oh, you should sell this. You should try and do this for money," right? And it's easy for them to say that shit because they don't know all the work that goes into running a business. So far, we've talked about what I would think to be the fun part, right? Yeah. But you also had to learn how to run a business, right? And I guess real quick, is this still like side hustle status for you, or is this your full-time gig?
Oh, no. This is a side hustle that's a gig.
Whew.
I want people to understand I work a 12-hour shift.
Goddamn. What's your day job?
I'm a class 4 wastewater treatment plant operator.
Tight.
So my job is to take what comes out of your sewer and turn it into river water that's good for aquatic life and recreational use.
God damn.
So my job is chemistry.
I can see the connection between that and your popcorn, man. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. I went through a lot of training, and I'm about 10 years in. This is a boomer job. This is not the kind of job you walk away from if you can do it and something else at the same time. I have a pension. I'm 37 with a pension.
Yep.
Who has a pension in our age group in this day and age? Like,
so I gotta ask then, like, how did you learn how to run a business in addition to working 12-hour shifts at a wastewater treatment plant and refining the science and the art of popcorn production?
it's because anybody knows me knows that I've been an entrepreneur for years.
Okay.
Before I did this, I refurbished Alienware computers.
Hey.
I bought them, redid them, sold them for a small profit. Anybody that deals with computers knows that they lose their value really quick, and you hate your life after doing it.
Yep.
So I didn't do that long. I'm also, a long time ago in a former life, I was a mobile DJ.
Okay.
Oh, shit.
So weekend warrior. Still have my turntable downstairs, my dual 15s, my intelligent lighting, my hazers, my strobes. I can turn your entire basement into a rave party.
I mean, I think that's the logical next step for your popcorn, wherever you set up. I hesitate to call it a stall because I've seen you set up in a couple different locations around venues now, but you got your crew handling the retail aspect. If you're just on the ones and twos the whole time, that's only going to make it sweeter, right?
It took a lot to do this, but obviously I have a lot of people that believe in me. Like everybody that I've came across, they call it a Keith conversation. Basically, if you've had a long conversation with me, you're blood tethered to me. Because that's the type of person I am. I don't hide it. I don't take myself seriously. Everybody is a human. Everybody has a story to tell. I want to be that person to listen to your story. I want you to want to listen to my story. And at the end of the day, we're going to have stories to tell. And that's the way I've always approached people. And it's always given me more opportunities than most because I speak to people the way that I want them to feel like they have a place in this world. Because I know what it's like to not feel like you're wanted somewhere. And when I joined the FGC, I was like, I'm home.
Yup.
This is my community. This, I want to give something to this community.
Ah. That is beautiful. I feel like that was fighting games for me too, right? Like I didn't feel like I had a place that I belonged to, and then I found the arcade scene. I found fighting games. I found just like they're this beautiful medium to connect with other people, and I haven't been able to quit them since because they are that family, you know, that community that you get into. It's so cool that you're able to find a way to connect something else that you had, right? The popcorn recipe that your dad gave you, and turn that into something to like you're literally feeding the people you love, man. That's awesome.
And I saw like we have all these events. There's spectator sports. Why is there no spectators? Like, why is there no spectator snack? I'm looking to the left and the right. Me. I'm spectator snack.
So that actually brings up another question that I wanted to ask you about, because I know that like, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but food businesses normally have like a bunch of essentially like, you know, kitchen safety stuff having to do with like the product that you're selling, right? And from what I understand, you're basically, since you're working in popcorn, and popcorn is like a low risk product, so you're able to sell like, I think it's like a cottage food vendor or something, right? That's the status that you get to work at, right?
All right. So in November of 2019, right before Frosty's 2020, I had been doing things off the cuff of my shoulder.
Yeah.
But Frosty 2020, they needed me to be the legit.
Yeah.
So in 3 months, I needed to figure out what my classification was, what I couldn't and couldn't do, where I could toe the line in between it, and what paperwork I needed. So I pretty much learned the nitty gritty about how to run this business within 3 months, right up until time of the event.
Got it.
And that time, I got certified as an LLC in the state of Indiana.
Good shit.
I also got my ServSafe Manager certificate, which is a blanket for anybody that works under me. And yes, you're correct. I'm considered a cottage food operator, which means I can sell things in farmers markets and roadside stands.
Nice.
I can't sell things publicly.
Right.
However, the fighting game community's events are private events, so it does not fit under that jurisdiction.
Ah, got it. So, man, that's awesome. That is also incredibly lucky that you were able to get that all like set up with 3 months before Frosty Faustings 2020. As someone who has also had to worry about that shit, like, I mean, I haven't had to worry about it like that, because the product we were working on wasn't. We weren't covered under cottage food, basically. So we actually had to go through the process of renting out kitchen space, getting that shit like, you know, inspected and everything. But I'm sure you knew all the possible things that could have gone wrong, right?
Absolutely. I had it first thing in the front of my mind. I was like, all right, I have all the paperwork in front of me. The only thing that I can't get is what comes with a commercial kitchen, which is the food, weights, and measures.
Yeah.
Because obviously I'm working out of my home.
Right.
But because I'm running a private event, I didn't have to worry about that, because it's not an event that's open to the public. Obviously, when the pandemic hit, all conventional means, went out the window.
Yeah.
And due to that, I spent about 5 or 6 months trying to figure out what was the next logical direction I could take the business to keep it going. During that time, I had a bout with COVID.
Okay, shit.
And it was a long bout. I was one of the earlier cases of it, like early March.
That must have been fucking terrifying, man.
Yeah. After the initial 14 days, I had a blood clot that
holy fuck
was traveling from my left leg. At first, I thought it was just sciatic nerve pain, but it was actually a clot. And I only figured that out by accident because I took aspirin and it would move. Which means it was literally
it wasn't nerve pain, yeah.
reclotting and unclotting as I busted the clot up.
Ooh.
And that went up for about 2 or 3 months. So I was real quiet on social media at that time. Only a
Mm-hmm.
couple of people knew what was going on because I didn't want people to panic.
Yeah.
But after I went through that, got better, I was like, all right, I have to make this work.
Mm-hmm.
I have to work within my means. We're just going to have to move this and make this work some kind of way. And the reason why I came up with a Discord store is because I wanted to keep it a community thing
Mm-hmm.
where people could discuss and talk. And yeah, I didn't want to run my business as a standard business.
Yeah.
It didn't start that way. The passion behind it has nothing to do with it.
Yep.
I want to keep this business exactly what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Keep, don't sell out. I'm here to make a product that people love. And my name is on it. So I'm always going to be the final word in what people taste. I own my mistakes just as much as I own this brand. So I take it personally when people enjoy what I bring to it because there's a lot of heart that's put into every single ingredient.
So
Like there's
yeah, go ahead.
yeah.
So
There's only
that's
a
actually
few-
interesting because one of the things I want to know is like this work never is. It's never perfect, right? You just like fighting games, you learn mostly by holding L's, right? I'm sure
Yep.
that your production process got a bit improved every time because you'd be like, well, I just burned my hand. That fucking sucked. How do I not burn my hand again, right? What are some of the L's that you had to hold while trying to get this thing off the ground?
Oh man. I'm gonna show you the biggest L.
Hey.
Give me 1 second. TPB 1.0 right here.
Okay.
This is TPB 1.0. This is what my father created
Mm-hmm.
his popcorn in.
Wow.
Look how small this guy is. Tiny.
Yeah. That's like not even that's not close to one of the bins that I see you bring at an event.
Yeah, exactly. And the first combo breaker was done with this.
Holy shit. Goddamn.
So, needless to say, I had some very good friends come and help me mash out popcorn just to barely make enough.
God damn. And so now you've successfully scaled up to essentially like like an online ordering business, right? And yeah, the fact that you run that through Discord, I think, is awesome. Not just to give people a chance to talk about the popcorn, but because it feels kind of like a popcorn speakeasy, right? Like I'm entering this environment. I have to read the rules. I'm like, yo, shit, this order is an experience. But like, what did you have to do to go from being able to sell popcorn, like just being able to sell it at events? The logistics chain seems pretty clear, right? But
Yeah.
having to deal with shipping, having to deal with how your product holds up during shipping, like what kind of work did you have to do to be able to continue the stuff in COVID?
Basically, it came down to one thing. How can I make this business run on my time?
Mm-hmm.
Because if I allowed this business to run the way a normal online business run, I would be beat to the ground.
Yep.
That would be the biggest L I could possibly take.
Yep.
That's why I did it through Discord. People realize I'm one person.
Mm-hmm.
I might have 3 or 4 people there to help me. But ultimately, I work a 12-hour shift, sometimes 3 days a week, sometimes 4 days a week. I'm washed when I get out.
Yep.
I might be able to give maybe 1 or 2 days a week to straight packing. And then because everybody obliterates cheese and cake and cinnamon roll, I have to use the other half of it to restock it.
Mm-hmm.
So it was basically, give me a machine that can keep up. I'll figure out the rest later. I'll put everybody in this Discord and basically tell them, hey, this is not a store that runs the same way as like your click on PayPal. And
This ain't Amazon. This ain't Walmart. This is the homie Gekioh.
Yeah. And it took me a while to actually jump over that hurdle because I wasn't 100% certain whether or not the community would be able to accept the fact that they're going to have to wait for something.
Right.
And not only did the community come up and step up, they helped me get the what I needed. And here we are. I'm still on day one orders.
Wow.
I have 30 more day one orders. Day one was February 22nd.
God damn. That is, there's something that I really like about this story. Again, as someone who, besides working on, our own small business, like I've interacted with a lot of people who are running small food businesses, and the goal for them was always to go, and maybe this is like a Bay Area, like gold rush thing, right? But the goal was always, you get your shit big enough that you get like distributed in Whole Foods, you get distribution in Safeway, it becomes your full-time thing, right? And it's like startup culture as applied to food. One of the reasons why I really like how you're describing like the creative constraint you're operating in isn't like, it's not the food itself, it's your time. You're not trying to do this full time, or at least if you are, probably not now or anytime soon, right?
No.
And I imagine it's probably more fun for you to do it with this limited amount of time, because that becomes part of the challenge, right? Of like doing this properly. Which is perfect for a fighting game player, because like you and I know, like we've been around for a long time. Yeah, we see there are professional players these days. There are people who get paid full-time salaries to play fighting games. And I'm sure that was about as funny to you as it was to me the first couple times you saw it. You know, with the esports jerseys and shit, you're like, oh, you're wearing your little uniform with your cute friends. What the fuck? You make $150,000 a year? Jesus Christ. But like people like you and me, we're lifers in this fighting game shit, but we do it with whatever time we have, right? And the fact that you can do that, and you can make this beloved business in your free time when you're not working 12-hour shifts, that's fucking amazing, dude. Good shit.
A lot of people don't know the struggle. The homies in the scene, they know the struggle. They wonder why I still do this. And I look at them and I'm like, y'all are why I do this.
Hell yeah. And it feel so good to see that the energy that you're putting into the community is getting reflected right back, right? When you put out that fundraiser for the popcorn machine, I had no doubt in my mind that everyone who loved your popcorn was going to look at that and go, yo, hell yeah, of course we're helping this man scale up. Like, in part because they just want more popcorn, but in part because you can't help but love the way you're doing the thing you're doing with the popcorn baron stuff, man. That's awesome.
It's been a long journey, but I would not have done this journey for not the exact energy of the FGC. They brought me from a dark point in my life, which was a relationship that had ended in 2015. But after that relationship ended, it was like my life started to come back to me, and I wanted to start defining who it was I was again. And with the FGC, it was like, wow.
Irene's giving me looks because that's basically how I ended up back in this mix. So I feel you. We got two born again fighting game players here. No wonder it comes off as strong as it does. So there's one question that I've been sitting on for a little bit, because I don't know the popcorn production process, specifically how long it takes flavors to settle. But you mentioned that you for an event you're prepping your stuff out a month or two in advance. What does your stuff taste like fresh?
It still tastes wet. It hasn't cured to the popcorn yet, so it's almost like a coating.
Got it.
I want to tell you that the popcorn is almost the best when it's had time to settle for at least 2 or 3 days.
Okay. Is there like, because the way you've described your flavor development process and what you're aiming for is like trying to recreate the thing that you have that they're tasting, right? Are there ever flavors that you would consider? I know from a logistics perspective, this is not the wave, but like, are there flavors where you're like, ooh, I actually think the better version of this is is the fresh version, or is there ever anything that you would consider doing differently to optimize for a fresh popcorn product instead of what you've been doing?
Interesting question that you have, and I'm going to answer that with a bit of science.
Thank you.
If you haven't noticed, the kernels that you're eating right now, do those look like kernels that you would get at the movie theater?
No.
Why do you think that is?
I mean, I couldn't tell you what the exact difference is, but I assume that has something to do with shelf life, right? That maybe it's that the cooking process is different if you're supposed to eat fresh versus not, right? Like I noticed I've never had a burned Gekioh popcorn, right? But that just shows up in movie theater popcorn all the time.
Yes, that's because of the type of popcorn they use. There's two types. There's butterfly popcorn and there's mushroom popcorn. Butterfly popcorn is your standard run-of-the-mill popcorn. It pops out.
Okay.
So it's flaky. It's softer.
Mm-hmm.
It's meant to be consumed immediately. It doesn't have a big shelf life.
Yeah.
And then there's the other kind. Mushroom popcorn. The prime difference between mushroom popcorn and butterfly popcorn is the density.
Okay.
If you notice, when you bite into my popcorn, it's a little thicker and bigger than most corn. It's that way by design. It's genetically made to pop denser.
Got it.
Because it pops denser, air has less ability to penetrate it. And because it's a smooth brain surface, with that surface, you're able to coat it easier. And because it has little grooves inside of it, it's like you have little flavor pockets. Versus if you're using butterfly popcorn, when you're mixing it, half the time it's not keeping its shape.
Yeah, and it just kind of slides off, right? Like when I think of like a fresh movie theater popcorn, most of what I'm tasting is like butter and salt, but I'm guessing like most of that actually ends up on the bottom of the bucket anyway, right?
Yeah. So to mitigate that, I was like looking at some of the competitors, and I was looking at their popcorn. I was like, this popcorn doesn't look like this. What are they doing different? So I did my research, and I found out they use mushroom popcorn. So I was like, okay, let me find the best version of mushroom popcorn that I can find. And that's what I've been using ever since.
Got it.
So if my popcorn seems like it's being sold at a premium price, it's because you're getting a premium product.
Y'all are getting the good shit. No stems, no seeds. Fuck out of here with that. All right. To kind of we'll wind our way to a conclusion because I don't want to keep you up too late. But I want to know what's next for you, right? Like you said, you're developing this in the constraints of your free time, right? So I'm guessing like you're not thinking of like I guess big next steps, but I could be wrong, right? But like what is the next couple of years of this to you? Is it more flavors? Is it different flavors? Are there places you want to go or things you want to chase down and try?
So this is a slightly unknown fact, but you're hearing it here first. Most of the viewers here. I actually am partnered right now with a donor.
Okay.
This donor, his name is Jamal Davis. You guys will be hearing about him very soon. But he's basically the electrician that jerry-rigged this machine, this 50 amp machine in my apartment.
Okay.
So he's also an entrepreneur. So he has a graphic design company and he has a logistics company.
Okay.
Which means he can get my product from A to B.
Interesting.
So the next big step, you might start seeing me at some events that are a little farther out than 4 hours.
Okay. Got it. So your regional range was largely due to your production process and the logistics of getting. Interesting. All right. So now I need to figure out how to get how to get y'all out to Cali Burst, how to get you to Anime Ascension, NorCal and SoCal Regional. God damn. Okay. So you're expanding your range. That's awesome. And it's yeah, and it's perfect that you got, you know, it's the homies that are unlocking this kind of expansion, you know? That's pretty awesome.
The way I see it, to be a good business person, you have to have something that you believe in.
Mm-hmm.
You have to believe in the product that you're selling. And the people that sell your product, the people that help you, they have to believe in you too. So I make it my point. The people that help me, they believe in my product. They believe in what I do. This electrician, when he first came by, he just wanted to mash some Tekken. But you never know who you're going to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
You never know what you can do for that person and what that person can do for you. Not within the fines of, I'm going to take advantage of them, but what can we do to get each other to the next level?
Yeah. Just like fighting games.
And and what he doesn't have with his shipping company, he doesn't have much exposure.
Mm.
I have a cult following.
Yeah.
Let's call it what it is.
Yep.
So he can help me get the product out there. There's probably 1 million people that could use his services within the FGC.
Mm-hmm.
Vendors, Artist Alley, anybody.
Oh, yeah.
At the forefront, I'm a networker.
Yep.
So if A can help B do C, I'm going to be right there in the middle coordinating it.
We just got y'all. You're out there slinging those axle chains, but you're doing it lovingly to connect person A with person B. Hey, I think you could do something awesome together. That's awesome, man. So I guess as a fun way to kind of to wind this interview down, then, and really, I appreciate you taking the time out. It's been a pleasure to have you on what I guess is now the fucking late night fucking talk show for the Guilty Gear community. Maybe the after party is Sarvet's stream. But you got like you said, this operation wouldn't have been possible without like the help and support of other people. You got any shout outs? Like special people you want to recognize for you know what they've given you and helped you out with?
Man, shout outs to the FGC. Shout outs to all the homies in the Chicago scene. Y'all know who y'all are.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Kizzer for being in the kitchen helping my ass when I didn't have no help, even though he didn't want to be any parts of this. Shout outs for Jay and the Mimas crew for giving me my first chance.
Oh man,
they were the first ones that.
Damn, that's awesome! What a great event to do as your first event, man.
Shout outs to Rick for giving me a chance.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out for Bozak telling me when the first time I did it, I couldn't do it. So we just did it in WooCash is Okay, one more story.
Yo, let's go.
The very first event that I did was a Frosty, and I didn't have booth space.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have a booth. I wasn't allowed to have a booth.
Yeah.
So what do? WooCash let me use his apartment, his hotel room.
Yeah,
and I just set up shop in there. I had 16 buckets of popcorn and social media. Let's go.
God damn. All right, that's all right. One last question before I let you go.
Yeah.
Chip versus Axel, even matchup.
If you're playing me and I'm moving, 6'4".
All right, it was a pleasure to have you. I can't wait to see you at an event, man. Get some of this popcorn in person and catch up. Thank you so much, and sleep well, man. You have earned an awesome rest. Thanks once again.
All right, thanks you, man. Good to see you again, Pat.
Hell yeah. Peace out, fam. Mwah.
All right, latest.
Bye.
Bury your mind, but doesn't seem to be one on this path. It's far from my own. Where can I find you? The train has already gone. Not a big deal, no need to rush. Let's go by Thursday train.
この番組はご覧のスポンサーの提供でお送りします。